Hey everybody, it's Eric McBride and Luke Vilsmeyer at MTAC in Muncie, Indiana, and it's been a while since we've got on here and talked. It's the beginning of 2022, and Luke and I are just going to wrap up 2021, talk about the Tier One series. Overall, how did you think it went?
Better than I expected, to be honest. Started off, not much exposure, not a lot of people knew about it, but as it kept going, we get more and more, right? Like word of mouth was spreading. Took guys from whatever experience level they had. We saw a wide range, right? We had guys that I've been taking CQB classes for years. I've been doing this, and a lot of the results we get are, it's not necessarily about content and specific tactics and things like that, but it's about an overall experience of delivery of a product. And we got a lot of good feedback from 99% of our students regarding they'd never seen a course like it before. So we haven't gotten as far as I wanted to. I wanted to get an IC3 in the first year, but the amount of work it takes to make that IC3 happen, we've got to be patient, because when it hits, it's going to hit hard, and people are going to really, I think there's going to be a drastic response to a course like that.
Right, and we kind of knew that it would take on its own characteristics, but it really fractured into a lot of good things. And when I say that, we'll get to it in a little bit, but it crept its way over to law enforcement pretty quick.
Very quick, very quick, and they've taken a very strong hold of it and want to be a part of it in a lot of different ways, from being guest instructors to being just participating in the classes, taking the classes themselves, and then also taking the instructor course that we've put together for them.
Right,
which is going absolutely berserk right now.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So last year in January, we started with IC1, and you put that together just from your memory and your thoughts. So from that IC1 to the next IC1, what changed?
So actually, there was a lot of changes from that IC1 to the next IC1, but even more so after that.
Okay.
Right? Like that first IC1 was put everything on paper, let's get a class going, let's see how they respond to it. I had some returning students come back for another IC1, and it was different, and they said this is way different than what I experienced the first time. Basically what we did was we break it down further, right? We take more time and make it to where, instead of being introduced out in the shoot house to something they hadn't seen yet, talking through it first in the classroom just to give them a piece of it versus, well, I don't understand what I do here now. It's kind of hard to explain, but we've just made it easier to sit through a little bit of classroom, get out in the house, do the work, and have it all resonate and be able to put it in your training journal and have it all make sense. It's just the flow of it's gotten a lot better. Like now that I have assistant instructors and people that want to be involved in the course, it makes it a lot easier to break big classes up. So it's not 12, 16, 18 people standing in line waiting to do one-man tactics. We have them all over the house working with the different instructors, so it's the more and more people get involved with it, and the instructor side of it make it a lot easier to run these courses efficiently. And that's been our biggest plus, with the dedication of these guys coming back and helping as an assistant instructors. And it's only going to become more, it's going to become even better as it goes on, because there's more and more people being qualified as instructors as we speak.
Right. And one of the things that, I noticed was, obviously as you take something brand new and you polish it, right, throughout the year, which it got polished. Yeah. One of the neatest things I saw were how you break it down in the classroom now. They get a visual, the 30,000 foot view,
right,
and they also get, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody going to take interior conflict, but they also get a personal, up close view and some real feedback, which I thought was really creative, and how you guys put that into the PowerPoint presentation, because obviously that feedback you got told you this is what they need.
And that's what's great. That's what's been great about this whole thing, and has helped get this course to where it is because after every class I offer critiques. I want to hear what you didn't like, what you did like, all of it. And I tell my students, like, don't hesitate to tell me if you didn't like something about the course, because what can I do? I can change it, right? I just can't take everything and all of a sudden flip my course upside down and make a completely different course just based on personal things. But the feedback's been phenomenal. A lot of these students take a lot of time. They'll even take the critiques home with them, and they'll email me them back instead of sitting in class so they can think about it for a couple days. And it's been helpful. It's really helping drive the course to a really good place.
What's interesting about that is as you're talking about that, I'm thinking about, the classes I've taken, the different instructors through law enforcement that I've had. They all ask for critiques.
Sure.
Rarely do they change anything.
Yeah.
And I think that that, and you hit another key there, is that drive home. What is your mind doing? It's replaying everything. It's going through that class.
What are you doing that first night when you lay in bed? Seeing some of that stuff over
Absolutely.
and over again. Now, I should have written that in my end of course critique.
Yeah. So and I know what people don't see is when you're in the next day here in the office, you're going over those critiques. You're reading them out loud. You run some by me. You definitely are making notes.
Bring in my assistant instructors. We have powwows regarding the critiques, all that stuff. And then I even get critiques from my assistant instructors on how they think we could run it better. It's not just me doing it.
Right.
And I'll never say that. This isn't just a me thing. This is everything I'm doing and everything I'm building with these courses is about fostering a team environment, both on the cadre side and both on the student side. I want those students to feel like they're a part of something, part of a team around people like-minded like themselves.
Well, I think that goes into what we can do here as a facility is the involvement of the students of the cadre and it developed its own thing too. Mm-hmm. Is now instead of, hey, we're kind of throwing you in this, you don't really know what I told you. Now we've had people experience it dozen times, and now they can come in and because so for what I'm trying to say, a little edification here is you come to class, you take the class, now you're qualified for what? Can you come back as a role player now?
You can come back as a role player, or you can come back free with a paying student if you bring somebody.
Yeah, bring a buddy.
If you want to take it again and just get more experience, bring a buddy. You're in for free. He's paying. He's doing his course. She, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. Or come back and get a different perspective. Be the guy in the house that has people coming in after him.
Yeah, and speaking of she's, we had quite a few this year, or last year, sorry. And I don't think it should be a surprise to anybody. What is the surprise is a couple of them are real standouts.
Big time. And I'm not going to get into the whys, of why is a girl doing better than a guy or anything like that. It's just a matter, it's all comes down to you as a person. Where you step into this classroom, do you think you know everything? Or are you a blank canvas, willing to learn?
Right.
Oh, this isn't how I've done it for years, so why am I going to do it this way now?
Right.
And I'll tell my students every single time, I'm not trying to give you everything. I'm not trying to teach you this is the only way to do it. I don't believe that. There are thousands of ways to skin a cat. Thousands. And all I'm trying to do is that toolbox that you carry around with you, I'm trying to put more tools in it.
Right.
That's it. If you don't like something, leave it out. But if you like something, take that tool and put it in your toolbox and use it.
Right. And earlier you said, you wish you would have got to IC3, but I think if I had to point out one of the slight disappointments were the amount of people that came back for IC2, nearly half. And we really didn't, would we only do 2 IC2s last year or 3? We did 3.
We did 3.
3 IC2s, and that's half the training.
Right.
So, for those that are looking into becoming a Tier 1 student and looking at the interior conflict as one of your first classes, your interior conflict 1 is 1 and 2 person clearing, and then you go to 2 and it's 3 and 4. Those are probably the more important ones for most people because you're probably in that kind of situation going to be around more people. Maybe not, but the leadership part of it starts really being reinforced.
Yep.
The room clearing now starts becoming a little bit more natural.
Mm-hmm.
What the people, so that was a little bit of a disappointment was where did they go? I get it. Everybody's budget, time, everything, but we put quite a few of them on. Mm-hmm. And I think that, what do you think about that? I mean, was that a little disappointing to you?
I wouldn't say it was disappointing. I think we even talked about somewhat expecting it. A lot of people, I'm going to try something, see how I like it. And it's not going to be for everybody.
Right.
Right? Like, what people don't realize about this stuff, if you go to something like this, you go to a training event and you're like, yeah, I learned some CQB. Cool, right. Well, were you tired? Did your back hurt? Did your feet hurt? Well, I mean, how did the training affect you physically, mentally? Were you just wiped out mentally? Then, if the answer is no, then that's a real easy thing to go back to and be like, well, I could do this all day. You know, but if you're really wanting to put in the work and strive to be excellent at something, it's going to be a painful process. It's going to be painstaking, both mentally and physically. And I think that, I mean, day one and day two are no joke. IC1 it's no joke. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of reps. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of thinking. It's a lot of mental struggle because it's all new stuff to people who have zero experience in anything CQB related. So their mind is just overwhelmed with this stuff. So that can be draining, right? So if it's too easy, it's too easy. And then, like, if you like it easy, keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
Good luck to you. I mean, I wish you nothing but the best.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you really, really want to perfect something and you really want to dedicate yourself to being the best at something, it's going to take some work.
Right. Well, and I think there's the other side of that. So we saw some blended classes, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like we said, we started getting infusion immediately from the law enforcement community. Yep. And what I mean by there's some context that is lacked there initially because some of these students haven't ever been put in a position to utilize this.
Sure.
They may never be in a position to most likely won't be put in a position to utilize any of this. Therefore, there's not always that need.
Sure.
And so I think some of that has something to do with the what styles they start gravitating to.
Sure.
Is this a popular style or is this one that is actually going to save my life?
Sure.
And I think that's why the CQB instructor has taken off like it has, because what we've created here is, you know, the utilizing the words tier 1,
Mm-hmm.
but now giving it the billing it is, because we know the product that goes into the tier 1 series is tier 1 stuff. Mm-hmm. And has been utilized to save many lives. Therefore, people come in and they realize this is real training. Just a side note, one of the best critiques I'd ever heard of Centrifuge Training's VCQB was, you know, at the end of the day, you're tired mentally and physically. You're just worn out, because it is a lot of thinking and it's a lot of moving.
Yeah.
I think the same can be said for the interior conflict, and we'll get into some of the other classes, but every one of those tier 1 classes has left people physically and mentally just exhausted.
And at the end of it, the surprising thing has been, can we do day 3 tomorrow?
Oh yeah, they don't want to stop.
They don't want to stop.
They don't want to stop. Yeah,
Right.
It's not a negative
Right.
necessarily. You're right, but we also know scientifically that once we train past our comfort zone and we start getting exhausted, maybe we're cold, maybe we're wet, the learning,
tired, hungry,
all that comes into play. Is now it's really starting to ingrain this in my psyche.
Right.
to these tactics.
I mean, if you train to a comfort level, that's what you're going to train to, and that's
Right.
what you're going to be prepared for.
Yeah.
And most
Comfort.
times when this stuff happens, it's very
Not
uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the big things, though, with like we're talking about the mental, the physical, all these things, and the tactics, right? But one of the biggest things, and I've watched these classes, I keep seeing these students come back to take the next iteration, the next step. They're not the same people that came in the last class. They're more willing to communicate with others, work with others, teach others, share ideas. You know, day 1, people come in here and it's pretty quiet, you know. But as they go through this, and that's one of the biggest things I'm trying to develop here, is leadership within people. I want a classroom full of leaders. I don't want just a bunch of people being told what to do. Like,
Right.
One day you could be that person that a group of civilians are looking up at going, what do we do? What do we do? I don't know what to do. And you just say, follow me.
And it's a good feeling for them. And I think while you were saying that, I was thinking, you know, that's the positive to the smaller group sizes moving forward. And we knew there's a filter there. There is a filtering effect. But like you said, when they come back, they're different,
Mm-hmm.
and it changes them, and they're becoming leaders. They're becoming more proficient in their tactics, their shooting, all of their skills, and they're honing.
Yeah.
And naturally, the higher you go in your honing, the smaller sample of people you're going to have.
Sure. Yeah. Truly dedicated to the craft.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had interior conflict 1 and 2. They went throughout the year, and they kept getting polished, and it was really fun to watch everybody evolve through those. And then we also introduced tactical pistol
Mm-hmm.
and tactical rifle.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your direction for everybody once they come in there. Obviously, they're not brand new to guns,
Right.
but what are some of the overlying course goals in rifle and pistol?
We want to sharpen everything. We want to make sure that you're completely, without question, put a blindfold on in the middle of the night and be totally confident in operating your weapon in any condition, right? Like, it's tac rifle and tac pistol 1. Not a basic course. Not going to teach you how to hold your gun unless we're just having all kinds of issues with your shot groups or anything like that. I will break it down at times if need be. If somebody's struggling with something, I have no problem with that. But that's not the focus. The focus is the tactical employment of your weapon system. So it's going to be a variety of shooting positions. It's going to be a variety of whether you're stationary or moving. The first classes are going to be drills, a lot of drills. Like it's going to start off stationary. It's going to be multi-target indexing, shooting in depth, shooting in width, things like that. Some barrier shoots, things like that. You get into the second ones, it's work.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of shooting and moving and communicating, because if you've ever been in a situation where you have some guys with guns and they're all trying to achieve the same thing, if you don't have communication and the ability to keep everybody safe at the same time, then it could turn into a really bad situation real quick.
Right, and I think that it was fun because for some of our students, they jumped into the interior conflict classes first.
Yeah.
Which that was just the way it worked out last year, and it is what it is.
Everything.
Yep. So now we got to see them on the flat range, and by the way, we went down to Noblesville for the first time to Bear Arms range. Fantastic range. Derek and the guys at Bear Arms, man, they brought us down there. We'll be back next year. I'm so excited about that.
As much as we can.
So that was my side note plug for Bear Arms, and their range is phenomenal. So, but what we started seeing was the lights really start turning on.
Yeah. Yeah. In an ideal world, I'd get those guys on the range for a long period of time before I put them in a house.
Sure. And now that we've got a system going, mm-hmm. that can happen, which is phenomenal.
Well, it's part of the reason that TAC Rifle 1 and TAC Pistol 1 are required before IC3.
Sure.
Because we got to fine tune a lot of those weapons handling before we really start to get to work, because IC3 we get to work.
And I think this year, with the way the schedule is going to work out, we're going to have them through both 1 and 2 rifle and pistol for IC3, and so they should be right on point.
Yeah, we're halfway there. We get enough, just a handful more of the students. If they hit, I think just a couple of them need TAC rifle and a couple need TAC pistol, and we get an IC3 on the books, man.
Yep. And we're going to see a lot more students this year. We ended up with about 50 last year?
No, we're
at Tier 1?
We're just right around 60 Tier 1 students last year.
So 60 of them last year. That's awesome. And this year it'll pour on even harder.
Sure.
Speaking of pouring, I think every one of our live fire, our TAC pistol and TAC rifle, it rained on us.
So far, so good.
That's right. We love that rain. It's a part of train. We know that, and it was in there. It was all we could do last year, but it was always with us.
Yeah.
And I think that's always one of those other things that I enjoy it. You enjoy it. Why do we enjoy it? Because it makes you concentrate more on what you're doing. Any kind of adversity like that is really good for the soul.
Training to comfort is training to a certain standard.
I agree. And then so last year we wrapped up with one of the most incredible medical classes I've ever seen. So the tactical or Tier 1 casualty care.
It went off so well. Like, it went off so much better than what I was anticipating. A lot of it had to do with the students. They're IC2 graduates, so I was able to inflict a lot of tactics into it instead of just the medical portion. So they got to combine everything they've learned all the way up through IC2 and the live fire ranges, and then add in mass casualty situations, hostage rescue situations that went bad, things like that. So they're not all going to be like that, but they're going to be friggin' awesome.
They're really good.
I mean, what's his name? Greg?
Yeah. So any of you that are out there have trained here with Greg Michael, our instructor for our medical courses, already know he's just a mastermind when it comes to this, and just genius of teaching, casualty care and trauma. But when he kept saying, hey, so what are my limitations here? And we were like, no, there's no limitations. You got these people for 2 days, however many hours as you want. And you could just see the lightning bolts hit his head. Like, it's on. Yeah. And it showed. I mean, he came in here all day the day before it took him to set up. And I mean, we had so much for everybody to learn. And I mean, the students came out bloody, not their own blood, but and well knowledge. I mean,
I think they spent all of about 6 minutes in the classroom.
That's all they got. Everything else was hands on. What a great class! Once a year that'll be offered in November. If you guys haven't had a medical class or trauma class, or you've had some but you felt like, okay, all I really came out of that was how to apply a tourniquet and put a chest seal on, you want to get in this class. It's phenomenal. So but yeah, that's how we wrapped up 21. How many black patchers did we end up with?
Got 12 of them.
12 black patchers. So that's turned into its own thing, hasn't it?
It's actually a discussion we're going to have. I want to have a black patch event very soon.
That's awesome. And then this morning you hit me with something really cool. We're talking about Interior Conflict 3, what all that's going to comprise of, and you realizing that the intensity level goes up more. What'd you tell me this morning? What do you want to do?
So, looking at IC3, I mean, it's from the moment we walk in, we're going straight to work. Like, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a test of everything we've learned to this point. Validation of every bit of training you've received to this point. What needs to happen is a free, wide open, entire day workshop with me prior to IC3 for every single student that enrolls in IC3. They show up, whether it be a week or a day before the course, whatever we can schedule and what works best, and we go through everything. Crash course, just open forum, no structure, no nothing. Guys walk in, set their equipment up. This is what I need to work on, let's go work on that. This is what I need to work on, let's go work on that. So all the way up. I don't care if it's one-man stuff, I don't care if it's four-man stuff, I don't care if it's a freaking hallway with a turn. Whatever needs to happen. And we'll spend all day in a workshop together, just getting ready. So when IC3 kicks off, there's nothing but confidence going into it.
And the best part, how much is it going to be?
Oh, it's going to be free.
That's right. So you heard it, Interior Conflict Workshop for 2022 prior to Interior Conflict 3. I think it's a great idea. It does get everybody back to where they need to be and prepped. And I think that would, for me as a student going into these classes, and I look at something that is robust and has depth like this, all these, I can just keep going and keep going. Now you're offering me the opportunity to freshen up. So now I can pay and take the class. I can come back with a friend and run it for free, or as a role player. Mm-hmm. And now I got a workshop. So now all of a sudden a $350 to $500 class, I get to do it 2 more times at least, 3 more times, however many more times, as long as I bring a friend. That makes it worth a lot more to me than the money that I had to pay. So I can just keep, refreshing those. So
I think the workshop, I hope every single student that is going to be in the IC3 when it goes up I hope they can all make it because it'll be hugely beneficial going into IC3.
Yeah. So anyone that's taking an interior conflict.
Yeah, I mean, we'll open it up to everyone, but I really want those IC3 students that'll be enrolled in the course to be there before they go into IC3. It'll really help them, really help set them up for success, especially that first day.
Awesome.
Not to give you too much.
No, that sounds good. Well, that's kind of our wrap up for 2021. A little bit of preview for 2022. Hopefully, we're going to add some new classes to the schedule on both sides, the American Patriot side and the Tier 1 side. But that's it from us for now. Look forward to telling you more here real soon.